Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the USS Blackstar and looked out at the stars. The ship was quiet, except for the soft hum of engines. His crew worked at their stations in silence. Everyone knew this might be their last peaceful moment. For a long time, the war had been going on for 3 months now. The Galactic Federation was losing badly. Every week brought news of another system falling to the HFY Empire. The alien invaders were strong, and their weapons were powerful. Federation ships burned like paper when the enemy found them. Jake had been a captain for 5 years, but he had never seen anything like this war. The Federation had always been peaceful. Most member species settled problems with words, not weapons. They were not ready for an enemy that wanted to. It's destroyed everything in their path. The communication panel lit up with an incoming message. Lieutenant Commander Amy Carter looked up from her station. "Captain, we have a priority transmission from Admiral Kane." "Put her through," Jake said. The main screen flickered and showed Admiral Lisa Kane. She looked tired. Dark circles under. Her eyes showed she had not been sleeping much. Behind her, Jake could see the command center of Earth Defense Command. People moved quickly between stations. Red warning lights flashed on the walls. "Captain Morrison," the Admiral said. "I have new orders for you." Jake straightened up. "We're ready, Admiral. Federation Council has made a decision. Humanity is officially entering the war." Admiral Kane paused. "We know the Blackstar is still experimental. We know your weapons are different from what other Federation ships use. But we're out of options." Jake nodded. He had been expecting this. Had stayed out of the fighting at first. Human technology was considered primitive by most alien species. They used energy shields and plasma weapons. Humans still used old-fashioned kinetic weapons and nuclear engines. Other species thought these were outdated and weak. "What are our orders?" Jake asked. "The HFY have broken through our defenses in the Altair system. 3 of their dreadnoughts are destroying everything they find. Evacuation ships, medical vessels, even escape pods. They're not taking prisoners." Amy Carter looked up from her tactical display. "Admiral, our latest intelligence reports show each HFY dreadnought is twice the size of our ship. Their shields can stop any Federation weapon we know about." "Admiral." Kane's expression grew grim. "That's why we're sending you, Captain. Your ship uses weapons they've never seen before. Maybe that will make a difference." Chief Engineer Danny Rodriguez spoke from his station near the back of the bridge. "Admiral, our railgun systems are working perfectly. Our nuclear torpedoes are ready, but we don't know how they'll work against alien shields." "There's only one way to find out," Admiral Kane replied. "You have authorization to engage the enemy, using any means necessary. The Federation fleet will follow in 6 hours. Try to keep some of those evacuation ships alive until we get there." Jake felt the weight of command on his shoulders. His ship had never fought in a real battle. His crew was good, but they were untested. The Blackstar itself was the first ship of its kind. Human engineers had built it using their own ideas about space warfare. It was fast and tough, but nobody knew if it would work against real enemies. "Understood, Admiral. We'll do our best. Good luck, Captain." Kane out. The screen went dark. Jake looked around his bridge. Every person there was human. They came from Earth's military academies and space training programs. They knew human weapons and human tactics. But they had never fought aliens before. Danny Rodriguez came forward from his engineering station. He was a short man with grease stains on his uniform. He had worked on the Blackstar since before it was finished. "Captain, all systems are running smooth. The Void Drive is ready for long-distance jumping. Our railguns have full ammunition. Nuclear torpedoes are armed and ready." "What about our armor?" Jake asked. "Our hull plating is holding strong. It's not energy shields like the aliens use. It's just thick metal and ceramic, but it's tough. Real tough." Amy Carter turned from her tactical station. She was young, but she had the best scores in her class at the academy. "Captain, I'm reading the distress signals from Altair. It sounds bad. Read big ships destroying everything. The survivors say the aliens are hunting escape pods for sport." Jake felt anger rise in his chest. Hunting escape pods was against every rule of war he knew. How long to reach Altair? Lieutenant Commander Rick Torres looked up from communications. For hours at maximum void drive speed, Captain. Admiral said the fleet would follow in 6 hours, Jake said. That means we'll be alone for at least 2 hours, maybe more. Dr. Helen Brooks spoke from the science station. She was older than most of the crew and had studied alien technology for years. Captain, I should warn you. The Kethver record everything during battles. They study how other species fight. If we engage them, they'll learn about our weapons and tactics. What does that mean for us? Jake asked. It means if any of their ships escape, they'll know how to fight humans next time. They'll adapt their shields and weapons. Our advantage will be gone. Jake thought about this. The Blackstar was humanity's secret weapon. It used technology the aliens had never seen, only if they kept it secret. If the enemy learned about human weapons, they would find ways to stop them. Are you saying we shouldn't fight? Amy asked. I'm saying if we fight, we better make sure no one survives to tell about it, Dr. Brooks replied. The bridge went quiet. Everyone understood what that meant. It was one thing to destroy enemy warships. It was another thing to hunt down every survivor, every escape pod, every witness. Captain Danny said quietly, we signed up to protect Earth and the Federation. Sometimes protection means doing hard things. Jake looked at each member of his crew. They were good people. They had families back on Earth. They believed in doing the right thing. But war had a way of changing what the right thing meant. Torres, set course for Altair. Maximum void drive speed. By Captain. Course set. Rodriguez, I want all weapons. Ready. Full power to engines and armor. Already done, Captain. Carter, start analyzing everything we know about Kethver ships. I want to know their weak points. Working on it now, Captain. Jake sat down in his captain's chair. The Blackstar began to move faster. Space around them shifted and twisted as the void drive engaged. It was human technology that worked differently from alien faster-than-light travel. It was one more advantage they had as long as it stayed secret. Brooks, I want you to monitor all enemy communications during the battle. They try to send. Any messages about our weapons or tactics? Jam them. Understood, Captain. The ship jumped into hyperspace. Stars turned into long lines of light outside the windows. The Blackstar was heading toward its first real battle. Jake hoped his crew was ready. He hoped their weapons would work. Most of all, he hoped they would do what needed to be done. 4 hours later, they would drop out of hyperspace in the Altair system. They would face an enemy that had conquered dozens of worlds. Kethver thought humans were weak and primitive. They thought Earth was not worth worrying about. Jake Morrison was about to show them how wrong they were. And he was going to make sure no one lived to warn the rest of their empire. The USS Blackstar dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the Altair system. Captain Jake Morrison gripped his command chair as the void drive shut down. The bridge lights flickered for a moment before returning to normal. Report, Jake ordered. Lieutenant. Commander Amy Carter checked her sensors. Her face went pale. Captain, I'm reading massive debris fields. Looks like at least 20 Federation ships have been destroyed. The wreckage is spread across 3 million kilometers. Dr. Helen Brooks looked up from her science station, detecting life signs from escape pods. Dozens of them scattered throughout the system, but the signals are getting weaker. Lieutenant Commander Rick Torres worked frantically at his communications. Bored, sir. I'm picking up distress calls on multiple frequencies. Most of them are automated. The manual signals stopped about an hour ago. Jake felt sick. They were too late to save most of the Federation forces. But maybe they could still help the survivors. Where are the enemy ships? Amy's fingers moved. Quickly over her tactical display, 3 large contacts near the 4th planet. They matched the size profile for Kethver dreadnoughts. They're moving slowly through the debris field. What are they doing? Jake asked. It looks like they're hunting, Captain. Every few minutes they fire at something small. Probably escape pods. Jake's hands tightened into fists. The aliens were not just winning the battle. They were enjoying it. They were killing helpless survivors for sport. Chief Engineer Danny Rodriguez came up from his station. Captain, our systems are all green. Railguns are loaded and ready. Nuclear torpedoes are armed. The void drive can get us out of here fast if we need to run. We're not running, Jake said. It's Torres. Open a channel to the enemy ships. Sir, are you sure that's wise? Dr. Brooks asked. We have the element of surprise right now. I want to give them a chance to surrender, Jake replied. It's the right thing to do. Torres worked at his console. Channel open, Captain. Jake stood up and faced the main screen. This is Captain Jake Morrison of the USS Blackstar. You are ordered to cease hostile actions and surrender immediately. This is your only warning. For a moment, there was only static. Then a harsh voice came through the speakers. The words were hard to understand. The alien was speaking Federation Standard, but with a thick accent that made every word sound like a threat. Human ship, you are far from home. Turn around and run back to your little planet. This system belongs to the Kethfer Empire now, Jake tried again. I am ordering you to stop attacking civilian vessels and surrender. The Federation fleet is on its way, the alien laughed. It was not a pleasant sound. Federation fleet. We destroyed your fleet. We watched them burn and beg for mercy. Now we collect the survivors for our slave markets. Another voice joined the first one. This alien's Federation Standard was better. We have heard of humans, new prey species, weak but numerous, good for manual labor in our mines. We'll make fine slaves. Amy Carter looked up from her tactical station. Her jaw was tight with anger. Captain, they just destroyed another escape pod. I'm reading 15 life signs that just went dark. Jake felt his patience disappear. These aliens were not going to surrender. They were not going to show mercy. They thought humans were weak and helpless. It was time to show them the truth. Torres, close the channel. Channel closed, sir. Jake sat back down in his command chair. Carter, give me a tactical analysis. What are we looking at? Amy's hands moved over her controls. Data appeared on the main screen. 3 large ships, shaped like angular spears. Their hulls were dark metal with glowing lines running along their sides. Each dreadnought is 1,200 meters long. That's twice the size of our ship. They have forward-mounted plasma cannons and energy shield generators. Their armor looks thick, but I can't tell what it's made of. Dr. Brooks added her analysis. I'm reading massive energy signatures from their shield systems. The power output is impressive. I wonder Federation ships couldn't hurt them. Danny Rodriguez studied the display. Their shields are designed to stop energy weapons. Plasma beams, laser cannons, particle accelerators, all the stuff Federation ships use. What about kinetic weapons? Jake asked. Danny grinned. That's different. Those shields might not even notice a chunk of metal moving at high speed. Amy ran calculations on her computer. If we use our railguns, the tungsten rounds will be moving at 12% of light speed when they hit. Even if their shields slow them down, there should be enough kinetic energy to do damage. Jake nodded. What about their weapons? Can they hurt us? Their plasma cannons are powerful, Amy replied. But our armor is different from Federation. Ships. We don't use energy shields. We have thick metal plating with ceramic backing. It might absorb plasma better than deflecting it. Dr. Brooks spoke up from her station. Captain, I should warn you. I'm detecting communication signals from the enemy ships. They're recording everything. Battle data, weapon signatures, tactical information. Everything they see will be sent back to their empire. Jake thought about this. If the Kethver learned about human weapons, they would adapt. They would change their shields and armor. The next time humans fought them, the aliens would be ready. Can you jam their communications? Jake asked. I can try. But if they realize we're jamming them, they might try harder to get a signal through. Do it. I don't want them reporting anything about this battle. Yes, sir. Torres looked up from his station. Captain, one of the dreadnoughts is moving toward us. Looks like they want to get a closer look at the new prey. Jake watched the tactical display. The lead enemy ship was turning in their direction. It moved slowly but with purpose, like a predator that had spotted easy prey. Amy Carter checked her weapons systems. Captain, should I target their engines or their weapons? Neither, Jake said. Target their communication arrays first. I want them deaf and blind before we do anything else. Danny Rodriguez came forward. Captain, we've never tested our weapons against alien technology. We don't know if this will work. There's only one way to find out, Jake replied. But Brooks is right. If we're going to fight, we need to make sure no one survives to tell. About it, the bridge went quiet. Everyone understood what Jake was saying. This would not be a normal battle with rules and honor. This would be something different, something darker. Sir, Torres said quietly, that goes against everything we learned at the academy. We're supposed to take prisoners. We're supposed to show mercy. Jake looked at his communication officer. Torres was young and still believed the universe was a fair place. The war was teaching all of them that fairness was a luxury they could not afford. Torres, how many Federation survivors are left in this system? Torres checked his sensors. Maybe 50 or 60 people in escape pods. If we don't help them soon, they'll run out of air. And if these aliens escape and report our weapons to their empire? Torres was quiet for a moment. Then he nodded. Next time they'll be ready for us. More humans will die. Jake stood up and looked around the bridge. His crew was good people. They had joined the military to protect Earth and the Federation. Protection sometimes meant making hard choices. This is war, Jake said. Not the kind of war we trained for. Not the kind of war with rules and honor. This is survival. If we let these aliens live, they'll kill more Federation citizens. They'll enslave more worlds. They'll come for Earth eventually. Amy Carter spoke from her tactical station. Captain, the lead dreadnought is charging weapons. I think they're done talking. Jake sat back down in his command chair. All hands. This is the captain. Prepare for combat. This is not a drill. The bridge lights dimmed to combat settings. Red warning lights began flashing. Throughout the ship, Jake could hear the crew running to battle stations. Carter, lock railguns on the lead ship's communication array. Locked on, Captain. Brooks, jam all enemy communications. Full spectrum interference. Jamming active, sir. Rodriguez, maximum power to engines and armor. Power at maximum, Captain. Jake took a deep breath. In a few moments, humanity would fire its first shots in the Galactic War. The aliens thought humans were weak prey animals. They were about to learn the truth about Earth's children. Fire. The USS Blackstar's railgun fired with a sound like thunder. The tungsten projectile shot out of the barrel at incredible speed. It crossed the distance to the Kethver dreadnought in less than 2 seconds. Captain Jake Morrison watched the tactical display as the round hit the enemy ship. Projectile punched through the alien's energy shield like it was not even there. Sparks flew from the dreadnought's communication tower as metal and electronics exploded. Direct hit, Lieutenant Commander. Amy Carter reported. Their main communication array is destroyed. The bridge crew stared at their screens in amazement. Federation ships had been firing energy weapons at Kethver shields for months without doing any damage. The Blackstar had destroyed a major system. With one shot, the lead Kethver dreadnought seemed to pause in space. Jake could imagine the confusion on their bridge. They had never seen a weapon that could ignore their shields. Sir, Lieutenant Commander Rick Torres said, I'm picking up frantic communications between the 3 enemy ships. They're asking each other what just happened. Dr. Helen Brooks worked at her science station. The aliens are trying to recalibrate their shields. They're increasing power and adjusting frequencies. But I don't think it will help against kinetic weapons. Chief Engineer Danny Rodriguez grinned from his station. Captain, our railgun is ready to fire again. The next round is loaded. The lead dreadnought began turning toward the Blackstar. Its plasma cannon started glowing with deadly energy. Jake could see weapon ports opening along the alien ship's hull. They're charging weapons, Amy reported. Multiple plasma cannons targeting us. Evasive maneuvers, Jake ordered. Won't let them get a clean shot. Chief Pilot Ben Hughes worked. His controls with expert skill. The Blackstar twisted and rolled as the first plasma beams lanced through space. The bright energy bolts passed close enough to light up the bridge windows. Double quotes, Hughes, can you get us closer? Jake asked. Jake looked at the tactical display. The 3 Kethver ships were spreading out, trying to surround the smaller human vessel. Classic predator behavior. They thought they were hunting prey. Close enough to make every shot count. Ben pushed the engines harder. The Blackstar accelerated toward the enemy formation. More plasma beams reached out for them, but Ben's flying kept them just ahead of the deadly light. Second dreadnought is moving to intercept, Amy reported. They're trying to ram us. Jake saw the huge alien ship turning toward them. It was twice their size and probably 3 times their mass. If it hit them, the Blackstar would be crushed like an egg. Shh. Use the void drive. Get us out of their path. Yes, sir. Ben activated the void drive for just a few seconds. Space twisted around the Blackstar. One moment they were directly in front of the charging dreadnought. The next moment they were 1,000 kilometers away. The crew felt the strange sensation of void travel. It was like falling and flying at the same time, but it only lasted an instant. Position achieved, Ben reported. We're behind the second dreadnought. Perfect, Jake said. Carter, target their engines. Amy worked quickly at her tactical station. Locked on, Captain? Railgun ready. Fire. The second tungsten round shot out at tremendous speed. It hit the dreadnought's main engine assembly and kept going. Projectile tore through alien metal like paper, leaving a hole big enough to fly a shuttle through. The enemy ship began spinning out of control. Atmosphere and debris poured from the wound in its hull. Emergency lights flashed along its length as the crew tried to regain control. Engine kill confirmed, Amy said. That ship isn't going anywhere. Torres looked up from his communication. Station, Captain. The aliens are trying to send distress signals. They're using backup transmitters. Dr. Brooks increased her jamming efforts. I'm blocking most of their signals, but some might be getting through. Jake felt a cold knot in his stomach. If any message reached Kethfer's space, the enemy would know about human weapons. They would adapt and prepare. The next battle would be much harder. We need to finish this quickly, Jake said, before they can report anything. The third dreadnought was hanging back, apparently trying to understand what it was facing. Its commander was probably wondering how a small human ship was destroying vessels. Twice its size, but the first dreadnought was still coming. Plasma cannons fired continuously as it closed the distance. Some of the energy beams hit the Blackstar's armor plating. Hull breach on Deck 5, Rodriguez reported. Damage control teams are responding. Armor is holding, but we can't take many more hits like that. Jake made a decision. Rodriguez, prepare nuclear torpedoes. Full spread. The engineer's eyes went wide. Sir, nuclear weapons are banned by Federation treaty. We're not supposed to use them except in extreme situations. This is extreme enough, Jake replied. How many torpedoes do we have? 12, Captain. Each one has a 50-kiloton warhead. Amy Carter looked shocked. Captain, those weapons were outlawed because they're too destructive. Other Federation species think they're barbaric. Jake looked around his bridge. His crew was good people who believed in following rules and doing the right thing. But rules written in peacetime sometimes did not work in war. The Kethfer are hunting escape pods for sport, Jake said. They're taking prisoners to sell as slaves. They've destroyed 20 Federation ships and killed thousands of people. I'd say that's pretty barbaric, too. Dr. Brooks spoke from her science station. Captain, if we use nuclear weapons, there won't be much left of their ships. No survivors, no escape pods, no witnesses. That's the idea, Jake said grimly. Torres, are they still trying to send messages? Yes, sir. Using every transmitter they have left. Then we end this now. Rodriguez launched torpedoes at all 3 targets. Danny's hands hesitated over his controls. Sir, this feels wrong. What? We're supposed to be better than this. Jake understood his engineer's concern. They'd all been raised to believe that humans were civilized and peaceful. Nuclear weapons belong to the dark history of Earth's wars. They were not supposed to be used against other intelligent species, but the Kethfer had shown no mercy to Federation citizens. They treated other species like animals to be hunted and enslaved. Sometimes the only way to stop a monster was to become something more dangerous. Danny, how many Federation survivors are in those escape pods? Rodriguez checked his sensors. About 40 people, sir. Maybe less. And how many people will die if these aliens escape and warn their empire about our weapons? Danny was quiet for a moment. Then he nodded and turned back to his controls. Torpedoes armed and ready, Captain. Launch all tubes. 12 nuclear torpedoes shot out from the Blackstar's launch bays. They were smaller than the railgun rounds, but they carried far more destructive power. Each torpedo had its own guidance. System N could track moving targets. The Kethfer ships detected the incoming weapons and tried to shoot them down. Plasma beams reached out to intercept the torpedoes. They managed to destroy 3 of them. 9 nuclear warheads found their targets. The explosions lit up the Altair system like new suns. The flash was so bright that the bridge windows automatically darkened to protect the crew's eyes. Even through the filters, the light was almost blinding. When the glare faded, there was nothing left of the 3 dreadnoughts except expanding clouds of radioactive gas and metal fragments. "All targets destroyed," Amy reported in a quiet voice. "I'm not reading any large debris or escape pods." The bridge was silent except for the hum of ship systems. Jake's crew stared at their displays, trying to understand what they had just done. In less than 10 minutes, they had completely destroyed 3 enemy warships that had been winning the war. "Sir," Torres said softly, "I'm not detecting any more communication signals. Nothing is getting through to Kethfer space." Dr. Brooks looked up from her science station. The nuclear explosions created massive electromagnetic interference. "Signals in this system are being blocked." Jake nodded. That was good news. But he knew their job was not finished yet. Carta scanned for escape pods, both ours and theirs. Amy worked at her controls for several minutes. "I'm reading 43 Federation survivors scattered across the system. Most of them are in bad shape but still alive."
What about Kethfer survivors? Nothing, Captain. The nuclear explosions were too powerful. There's no way anyone could
"Have survived." Jake felt relief mixed with guilt. They had won the battle and saved the Federation survivors. But the cost had been total destruction of the enemy. No prisoners, no mercy, no chance for surrender. "Hughes, plot a course to the nearest escape pod. We need to start rescue operations." "Course plotted, sir." As the Blackstar moved toward the first group of survivors, Jake thought about what they had accomplished. They had shown that human weapons could defeat the Kethfer. But they had also shown that humans were willing to fight without rules or limits. The galaxy thought humans were weak prey animals. After today, Jake was not sure what they would think. But he knew one thing for certain. The Kethfer would never see it coming. The USS Blackstar moved slowly through the debris field where the Kethfer dreadnoughts had been destroyed. Captain Jake Morrison watched the rescue operations on his main screen. His crew was bringing Federation survivors aboard as quickly as possible. Scanner operator Lucy Martin worked at her station, searching for any signs of life in the wreckage. She was new to the crew, but had sharp eyes and steady hands. "Captain, I'm detecting 17 small objects that might be escape pods. They're scattered across a wide area." Dr. Helen Brooks looked up from her medical readings. "The Federation survivors are in bad shape, but they'll live. Most of them have been in space for hours. They're suffering from cold and low oxygen." Jake nodded. "Keep bringing them aboard." "How many do we have so far?" 38 people, sir. "Medical teams are treating them in cargo bay too." Lieutenant Commander Amy Carter studied her tactical display. The nuclear explosions had created a massive debris field. Pieces of alien metal drifted in all directions. Some chunks were as big as shuttles. Others were just fragments. "Captain," Amy said carefully, "Lucy is right about those 17 objects. My scans show they're Kethfer escape pods. They're heavily damaged, but some might still have life support." He had hoped all the aliens died in the nuclear explosions. Survivors meant witnesses. Witnesses meant the enemy would learn about human weapons. "Any of them transmitting signals?" Jake asked. Lieutenant Commander Rick Torres checked his communication board. "Negative, sir. No active transmissions from any of the pods. Their communication systems were probably damaged by the electromagnetic pulse from our nuclear torpedoes." That was something, at least. But Jake knew Kethfer technology was advanced. Even damaged pods might have backup systems that could eventually send messages. Chief Engineer Danny Rodriguez came up from his station. "Captain, I've been thinking about this situation. Those escape pods are designed to keep aliens alive until rescue ships arrive. If any Kethfer survived, they'll be picked up eventually." "How long can the pods keep them alive?" Jake asked. Based on what we know about their technology, maybe 3 or 4 days. Long enough for their military to start looking for them. Made a decision he knew would haunt him forever. Carter, plot intercept courses for all 17 pods. We need to inspect each one. Amy's hand stopped moving over her controls. Sir, are you saying what I think you're saying? I'm saying we need to make sure there are no survivors to report what happened here. The bridge went quiet. Jake could see the shock on his crew's faces. They were good people who had joined the military to protect the innocent. What Jake was asking them to do went against everything they believed. Dr. Brooks spoke first. Captain, this is murder. Those aliens might be helpless survivors just like our own people. Those aliens were hunting Federation escape pods for sport, Jake replied. They were taking prisoners to sell as slaves. They've destroyed entire star systems. This is war, not a police action. Chief Security Officer Frank Miller stepped forward. He was a big man with scars on his hands from years of military service. Captain, I understand the tactical situation, but if we start killing prisoners, how are we different from them? Jake looked at each member of his crew. They were struggling with the same questions he was. How far should they go to protect humanity? Where was the line between defense and brutality? Torres, show me the communication logs from the battle.
Rick.
Pulled up the recordings on the main screen. Harsh voices of the Kethfer commanders filled the bridge. Their words about hunting humans for slaves. Their laughter when they destroyed escape pods. Their contempt for all other forms of life. These aliens don't think we're people, Jake said. Think we're animals, to be hunted and enslaved. They've conquered 47 other species. They'll keep conquering until someone stops them. Lucy Martin spoke from her scanner station. Captain, I'm detecting weak life signs from 4 of the escape pods. The others appear to be dead. Jake took a deep breath. Miller, prepare a boarding team. We're going to check each pod personally. Frank nodded slowly. Yes, sir. How many people do you want? Just you and me. This is my decision. I won't ask anyone else to carry this burden. Danny Rodriguez shook his head. Captain, you can't do this alone. If we're going down this path, we all go together. Amy Carter stood up from her tactical station. The captain is right about one thing. If any of these aliens survive and report our weapons, the next battle will be much harder. More humans will die. Dr. Brooks looked troubled. There has to be another way. We could capture them, question them for intelligence. And then what? Jake asked. Bench them prisoner forever. Eventually word would get out. The Federation doesn't have secret prisons. Torres spoke quietly. Sister lives on New Geneva. It's only 2 jumps from Kethfer space. If they adapt to our weapons and keep advancing, she'll be in danger. They were realizing that sometimes there were no good choices. Sometimes survival meant doing things that would change them forever, sir, Lucy said. One of the pods is moving. It's trying to maneuver toward the edge of the system. Can it reach hyperspace? Jake asked. Amy checked her calculations.
Not?
With the damage it has? But it might be able to send a signal once it gets far enough from the electromagnetic interference. That settled it. Jake could not allow any Kethfer to escape with knowledge of human weapons. Too many lives depended on keeping their tactical advantages secret. Hughes, intercept that pod. Use minimum power so we don't damage it too badly. Chief Pilot Ben Hughes worked his controls. Intercept, course plotted, Captain. Changed direction and accelerated toward the fleeing escape pod. As they got closer, Jake could see it was heavily damaged. Scorch marks covered its hull, and one of its engines was dark. Tractor beam range, Ben reported. Lock on and bring it. Aboard, the escape pod disappeared into the Blackstar's cargo bay. Jake stood up from his command chair and headed for the exit. Miller, Torres, Carter, you're with me? Everyone else? Continue rescue operations for Federation survivors. The 4 officers made their way through the ship's corridors to cargo bay. 3 where the alien pod had been placed. Security teams had already surrounded it with weapons drawn. The escape pod was smaller than Jake had expected. It was built for maybe 3 or 4 aliens at most. The hull was blackened from the nuclear explosions, and several systems appeared to be offline. Life signs. Jake asked. Frank Miller checked his scanner. 2 aliens inside. Both alive but injured. They're probably unconscious. Jake looked at the pod for a long moment. Inside were two beings who had probably never done anything personally to harm humans. They were just soldiers following orders, like his own crew, but they were also members of a species that treated other intelligent life as property to be bought and sold. They served an empire that had destroyed dozens of worlds and enslaved millions of people. "Can we open it?" Jake asked. Torres studied the pod systems. "Yes, sir. The airlock controls are still functional." Jake drew his sidearm. The others did. "The same. Open it." The pod's airlock cycled open with a soft hiss. Inside, Jake could see two Kethfer aliens strapped into emergency seats. They were tall and thin with gray skin and large eyes. Both were unconscious and breathing slowly. One of them stirred as light entered the pod. Its large eyes opened and focused on Jake. It tried to speak, but only managed a weak whisper. Jake aimed his weapon at the alien's head. His hand was steady, but his heart was pounding. This was the moment that would define what kind of person he was. Kind of captain, kind of human. The alien looked at him with what might have been fear or resignation. It said something, in its own language that Jake could not understand. Captain Frank Miller said softly, "We don't have to do this." Jake thought about all the Federation citizens who had died in this system. He thought about the escape pods that had been hunted for sport. He thought about his sister back on Earth and what would happen if the Kethfer ever reached human space. Yes, we do. Jake pulled the trigger. The second alien never woke up. When it was over, Jake and his team returned to the bridge in silence. They continued their rescue operations, bringing aboard the remaining Federation survivors. They searched the other 16 escape pods and found them all empty. Hours later, Admiral Kane's fleet arrived to find the Altair system free of enemy forces. Jake reported that they had engaged 3 Kethber dreadnoughts and destroyed them completely. He mentioned nothing about escape pods or survivors. The Admiral praised the Blackstar's crew for their heroic victory. She asked how they had managed to defeat ships that had been winning every battle for months. Jake told her about the railguns and nuclear torpedoes. He explained how kinetic weapons could bypass energy shields. He shared tactical data that would help other human ships. What he did not tell her was that humanity had taken its first step into the darkness. The Black Star had not just won a battle. It had chosen to fight a war without witnesses, without mercy, without limits. As the fleet departed for the next system, Jake stood alone on his bridge and wondered what they were becoming. The galaxy thought humans were civilized and peaceful. After today, Jake was not sure that was true anymore. 3 weeks after the battle at Altair, the USS Blackstar docked at Starbase Echo. Captain Jake Morrison walked through the corridors of the massive space station. Watching Federation officers and aliens go about their daily work, none of them knew what had really happened in the Altair system. The official reports said that human forces had engaged 3 Kethfer dreadnoughts and destroyed them using superior tactics and new weapon technology. The Federation Council praised the victory and asked for more ships with human weapons. What the reports did not mention was the 17 escape pods that had been eliminated, the 2 wounded aliens who had been executed in cold blood. To fight a war without witnesses or survivors, Jake entered Admiral Lisa Kane's office and found her studying tactical displays. She looked up as he entered and gestured for him to sit down. "Captain Morrison," she said, "congratulations on your victory. The Blackstar's performance exceeded all expectations." "Thank you, Admiral." Admiral Kane activated a privacy field around her desk. The room filled with a soft humming sound that would block any listening devices. "Now tell me what really happened out there," she said. Jake had been expecting this question. Admiral Kane was too smart to believe the simple version of events. She knew there had to be more to the story. "We engaged 3 enemy dreadnoughts," as reported. "Our kinetic weapons proved effective against their energy shields. Nuclear torpedoes finished the job, and survivors." Jake met her eyes. "There were no survivors, Admiral. No survivors from 3 ships carrying crews of several hundred each? That seems unlikely." Jake chose his words carefully. "Nuclear weapons are very destructive, ma'am. The Kethfer were not prepared for that." level of firepower. Admiral Kane studied him for a long moment, then she nodded slowly. I see. And I assume there were no communication signals sent during the battle? Dr. Brooks maintained communication jamming throughout the engagement. No signals reached Kethfer space. Good. Admiral Kane leaned back in her chair. Captain, I'm going to share some classified information with you. Since the Altair battle, 17 more Kethfer fleets have simply vanished without a trace. Tried to look surprised, vanished, no distress calls, no debris fields, no survivors. They were there one day and gone the next. The Kethfer Empire is starting to redeploy forces to investigate these disappearances. Jake knew what this meant. Other human ships had been following the Blackstar's example. They were fighting battles and eliminating all evidence. The ghost ship protocol was spreading through the human fleet without any official orders. What do you think is causing these disappearances? Jake asked. Admiral Kane smiled coldly. I think humanity has found its place in this war. We're not the strongest species or the most advanced, but we might be the most ruthless when we need to be. She activated a holographic display showing the current war situation. Our red markers showed Kethfer-controlled systems. Blue markers showed Federation territory. The red area had stopped growing for the first time in months. The Federation Council is confused, Admiral Kane continued. They think improved tactics and lucky breaks are turning the tide. They have no idea that human ships are conducting ghost operations. What are ghost operations? Jake asked, though he suspected he already knew. Unofficial missions where ships engage the enemy and leave no evidence. No survivors, no wreckage, no communication signals. The enemy simply disappears. Jake felt a chill run down his spine. What the Blackstar had done at Altair was becoming standard procedure for human forces. They were fighting a shadow war that left no traces. Is this legal under Federation law? Jake asked. Probably not, Admiral Kane admitted. But Federation law was written for peacetime. We're fighting for the survival of every free species in the galaxy. Sometimes survival requires bending the rules. She handed Jake a datapad with new orders. The Federation Council has approved something called the Ghost Ship Protocol. Officially, it's just a new tactical doctrine for dealing with superior enemy forces. Unofficially, it's authorization for human ships to operate without oversight. Jake, read through the orders. They were carefully worded to give human captains maximum freedom, while maintaining plausible deniability for Federation leadership. What about the other Federation species? Jake asked. Don't they want to know how we're winning these battles? The Altarians think it's improved weapon design. Centaurans believe it's better training. The Rigelians credit superior tactics. Everyone has their own theory, and none of them involve eliminating witnesses. Admiral Kane stood up and walked to the window overlooking the docking bays. Jake could see dozens of ships being loaded with supplies and weapons. Many of them were human vessels preparing for ghost operations. Captain, I'm promoting Lieutenant Commander Carter to captain of the USS Phantom. It's a new ship built using Blackstar technology. Her first mission is to locate and engage the Kethfer fleet that destroyed Federation forces in the Vega system. Nodded. Amy Carter was a good officer, and she understood what needed to be done. She would carry out her mission without leaving any evidence. What about the Blackstar? Jake asked. You're being transferred to Special Operations Command. New mission is to train other human captains in ghost ship tactics. We're building an entire fleet based on your success. Jake felt the weight of responsibility settle on his shoulders. He was no longer just a ship captain. He was becoming the architect of humanity's secret war. Admiral, are we doing the right thing? Admiral Kane turned from the window. Captain, the Kethfer have conquered 47 species. They've enslaved entire worlds and destroyed billions of lives. They think humans are weak prey animals suitable only for manual labor. She walked back to her desk and sat down. 6 months ago, they were winning this war easily. Federation fleets were being destroyed faster than we could build them. Entire star systems were falling every week. And now the Kethfer Empire is pulling back forces to investigate mysterious disappearances. They're scared of something they can't see or understand. For the first time in their history, they're fighting an enemy that leaves no survivors to warn them. Jake thought about the 2 aliens he had killed in the escape pod. Their faces still haunted his dreams. But he also thought about all the Federation citizens who were alive because Kethver fleets had disappeared. How many other captains know the truth? Jake asked. About 50 human captains have been briefed on ghost operations. The number grows. Every week, we're selecting officers who understand that sometimes protection requires doing terrible things. Admiral Kane handed him another datapad. These are the specifications for the new ghost ship design. Improved railguns, better nuclear torpedoes, enhanced jamming systems. Everything needed to fight invisible battles. Jake looked at the technical details. The new ships were designed specifically for eliminating enemy forces without leaving evidence. They were weapons built for a war without rules or mercy. What do we tell the crews? Jake asked. We tell them they're protecting Earth and the Federation. We tell them that sometimes good people have to make hard choices. We tell them that the enemy started this war and we're going to finish it. Jake stood up to leave. As he reached the door, Admiral Kane called out to him, Captain, there's one more thing. Intelligence reports suggest that Kethver are developing new shield technology specifically designed to stop kinetic weapons, adapting to our tactics. Jake felt his blood run cold. How long before they deploy these new shields? Months, maybe less. After that, our current weapons will be much less effective. What do we do then? Admiral Kane's expression grew grim. We develop new weapons. Bigger railguns, more powerful nuclear devices, maybe even antimatter warheads. Whatever it takes to keep winning invisible battles. Jake left the Admiral's office with his new orders and walked back through the station corridors. Around him, Federation personnel went about their duties. Believing their forces were winning through skill and courage, they had no idea that humanity had become something the galaxy had never seen before. A species that fought wars by making their enemies disappear completely. As Jake boarded a shuttle to his new assignment, he thought about what they had become. The galaxy still thought humans were civilized and peaceful. The Kethver still believed they were hunting weak prey animals. Both were wrong. Humanity had revealed its true nature in the darkness between stars. They were not the strongest species or the most advanced, but they were the most dangerous predator the galaxy had ever produced, the Kethver. Empire had started a war expecting easy victory over primitive humans. Instead, they had awakened something that hunted in the shadows and left no traces. In 6 months of ghost ship operations, the tide of war had completely reversed. The hunters had become the hunted, and they never saw it coming. Jake Morrison looked out at the stars and wondered what historians would write about this war. If they ever learned the truth, would they call humanity heroes or monsters? He thought. There was no difference when survival was at stake. The ghost ships were already departing for their next missions. Soon, more Kethver fleets would simply vanish from existence, leaving their empire to wonder what invisible force was destroying them. The galaxy was learning a new lesson about the species from Earth. Humans were not just another PR.